Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This is Things Reasons. This is the show for IT leaders in Australia. My name is Naran McClung. You are, of course,
Jonathan Staff.
Lovely to have you back with us, Jono. All right. Now, we've been looking forward to this for a little while. We've spoken about this guest and having this guest on. He's sitting right there. We're not quite ready to introduce him just yet. But today we're going to talk about some amazing things. We've got some cracking advice for IT leaders, particularly around non-executive director roles and board positions.
I'm looking forward to that. This is something that's on a lot of people's minds that we speak to.
Right.
And I'm sure our listeners will be super interested. And there's also some cool stuff we're going to talk about around what's going on with men's mental health.
That's right.
Particularly in our industry.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to get a different take on purpose as well. And I suspect that'll lead into a conversation around identity and how that relates to our jobs. So I'm really keen on that. That's going to be great. We've also had a ton of confessions. Remember the confessions of the IT professional, right? The epic fails. We've all got the stories. I shared a couple of mine. That resonated, by the way, with my UK mates because all those epic fails, for me at least, happened while I was over there. So it stirred up a lot of memories
I tell you
for
what,
those boys.
we've picked out what we think is one of the funniest ones. You're going to have to stick around. We're going to read it towards the end of the episode today.
But we've got a ton of them. Thank you very much, audience, for sending those in. Please keep doing it. Our lovely new website is working well. But what have you been up to? What have you been doing? What's going on?
Well, speaking of mental health, it was great to get a change of scenery on the long weekend, June long weekend. Beautiful camping trip.
Yes.
Clear skies, amazing stargazing, campfires, fall driving.
Yep.
That's how it's done.
I feel
So
like
I'm
that
feeling
contributed
refreshed.
to your mental health. I feel like you're balanced and refreshed and recharged as a
Ready
result
to
of it.
go.
Right.
Yeah.
Stress levels?
Yeah, stress levels are normal. We're going to
Okay.
say normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Stable.
It's up to our audience to define normal. But
Well,
we're good.
Look. All right.
We're good.
Now, how about we introduce our guest?
Let's do that. All right. Very, very pleased to welcome Luke Clifton to the show today. Luke has spent nearly 15 years in senior leadership at Macquarie Technology Group, more than a decade of which he led Macquarie Telecom. And during that time, he drove the business through its SD-WAN evolution, built out its cyber security and cloud services practice for the mid-market, and expanded strategic partnerships, including VeloCloud, Fortinet and Netscope. He stepped back recently from his operational role in late 2025, and he's now a director of Macquarie Technology Operations, where he focuses on governance, risk, partnerships, and long-term strategy. And outside the business, Luke is a passionate member of the Australian Men's Shed Association. He is actually the chair and has spent several years leading national strategic initiatives on men's mental health and community impact. And that work, alongside his own career transition, really sits at the centre of this episode. Luke, welcome.
It's great to see you, Jono. Naran, great to be here. Thank you. You actually had to read that? I thought you would just, I thought you would just know it.
Well,
I've told you about my career so much.
Do you want our versions
Yeah,
of it?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
give me
Because
your
we have
version.
worked together
Yeah,
for a
that's
while.
true.
Yeah,
That was the one you gave us. You said I had to read it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, ChatGPT did that one, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I feel like the lawyers made us say that. But look, we're here, so lovely to have you here. You've spent more than a decade running Macquarie Telecom, pretty amazing 10-year period. What made you decide that now was the time to sort of step away from that leadership position and out of an operational role? And, what drove that?
That's a great question, Naran. Let me start by saying, and I think I've told you this many times before, I'm a telecoms tragic.
Right.
I left school at 17, went straight into university, straight out of university to a small company called Telecom Australia, which became, of course, Telstra. I was there for a long period of time. And I just loved the industry. I was there right when the information superhighway was being built out, the first 3G mobile phones,
Yeah,
remember all that?
I do.
It was a really exciting time to be in the industry. And then after a long stint at Telstra, I joined a couple of smaller companies like Uecom. It got purchased by Singtel Optus. I worked for Singtel Optus for a period of time. And I knew this guy called David Tudorhope. He reached out to me and said, we've got this great sales and marketing executive over at Macquarie. And I joined that company. So for the last 15 years, I've been part of that crew. But I'm now 54. And there's no one right time where you start thinking about what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life and what your purpose is. But it was around, I think we all hit that sort of age bracket and we go, well, what am I going to do past 60? And you go, well, 60 is still a long way away if you're 54, but it's actually not. If you just pause for a moment and go, well, 6 years ago was like COVID. And if I add on 6 years, well, I'm now 60. So this is actually, it began playing on my mind. What am I going to be doing for the rest of my life? I don't want to retire. And because you don't want to retire from work, you want to retire into something. I think it's really important that you do that with some degree of purpose. You do it with some degree of thought. So about 3 years ago, I got invited onto the board of the Men's Shed Association, not thinking I'd love it, because it's very different from executive careers. And I'm happy to talk about all of that. But I actually really enjoyed it. I fell in love with the process of it and ringing other board members and getting alignment and talking about topics and strategy, etc. So that was something I decided that I wanted to do. So it wasn't a moment in time. It was actually something that it dawned on me over a period of time.
Yeah, look, I can relate to this, the need to have purpose. And John, I don't know about you, but for me, I've been working ever since I was, 18 really. And that was part-time gigs and then full-time from about sort of 21, 22 onwards. And the 10-year stint when I was contracting in London, I had a 3-month period between contracts. And I didn't like the way that felt at all because unlike you, I hadn't thought about it, right? My contract ended and I just assumed, I'll get another contract whenever one comes along. But I'd not been through this process of being deliberative about what I was going to do like you described. And so I found myself just stranded for 3 months without working. And I know that sounds ridiculous. It's only a 3-month period. But honestly, I was completely out of sorts not working because I derive a lot of purpose and identity and sense of self, worth and value from the things that I do at work. And when that was switched off, it had a real impact on me.
It's fascinating how many people fall into careers and they don't actually know how they turned up there in the first place.
Right.
I mean, look at how many people are in sales. We'll just start there. If you went and asked a whole heap of people who are in high school today who would like to be a salesperson, you won't see a hand go up. Yet somehow there's a great community of salespeople out there. I think choosing a career and doing it purposefully and thinking about actually what you want to do, it's like some of my favourite questions to ask in an interview. How have you ended up sitting where you are today talking to me? And you're listening for people that are choosing a career, but also you need to avail yourself of the opportunities when they arise. And so you've got to run through that door when they come because sometimes those doors close on you and you've got to have a path or have a view of where you want to end up. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think so too. It's something that's quite topical now, obviously with grads entering the industry, but particularly in tech, and a lot of uncertainty in terms of what roles will and won't exist. But I sometimes wonder if that's kind of always been the case in tech. Tech has always been a rapidly evolving industry. Do you think you were as deliberate about your choices when you got into telecom? Was it a happy accident? Was it a door you ran through? Tell us something we don't know.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a confession. So I started my university career doing a Bachelor of Computer Science. If people know me well, that was probably a really bad choice. I was doing it at the Sydney University. I did attend the final exam and still ended up coming fourth last in the class, even though there were people that didn't turn up into the exam. And so this was one of those cathartic moments. You go, oh. And bizarrely, I still ended up in a career in tech. And so I think you've got to be able to address those sort of challenges when they pop up. If you've got a vision of what you want to do, and I had to go back and it wasn't so much I wanted to play with the tech. I really wanted to understand what tech did. I really wanted to be able to explain to people who also didn't understand tech. Yeah. And that just fell into a real need at the time. And I still think that need is there today. Having people that can articulate what technology does to a whole heap of people don't really understand it. And on boards, that's critical. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really critical need.
Certainly. Well, that's great because I think a lot of tech leaders look at board roles maybe as a way to transition as well into retirement. If you've got a number of them, if they're paying okay, you can probably keep your interest ticking over, keep your brain active. What advice would you have for people that want to take that on, those non-executive director roles? What's a good way to explore that with purpose?
So I think the first learning when you're stepping into a career on boards is to first understand that it is a lot more work with a lot less control, with a lot more responsibility and usually a lot less pay.
Sounds great.
Yeah, this is
Sign me up.
not something that you would naturally lean into. And I would highly encourage anyone, because all of your executive skills don't really work in a boardroom. You've got no control. You can't tell anyone what to do. What you're using is all the other skills that you've learned over time: listening, cajoling, aligning, understanding, thinking through, being deliberative, being careful and precise. So those skills translate really well into the boardroom. Running fast, telling people what to do. I would say being an exec, you're looking for problems and you're looking to steer off that problem all the time. You're in control. And on a board, that's not the way this thing works.
So what is that nuance? Just talk us through that, because clearly if you're hearing things that are problematic, and if your instinct tells you that you want to get right in and solve that problem, particularly if you're of that type of personality, how do you balance that? Because you want to be able to offer some advice, but you can't be given as a directive. So how does that work?
So it's about alignment. So one of the things that is really good for me, and the reason why I do like being on boards, is it's about speaking to the other board directors constantly. So on Menshed, I would speak to all of the board directors every day. You're picking up the phone, you're just having a bit of a chat about where the organisation's going. How do you think the executive team are performing? How are we addressing that particular issue? Did you see that in the media? You're looking for alignment. And once you get that alignment, this is an issue, or this is something that you want to address, this is something we need to raise at the next board meeting, and then you go through a process of questioning. So it's very different from the way you would operate, Naran, when you go to work. Oh, there's a problem, that number's in the red, we've got to do something about it this afternoon. I'd like to see a report on it tomorrow. That's not the way boards work.
No.
So the advice for people that are thinking about that career is actually put a toe in the water first. Go and join a school board. Go and join a sporting association board. Go and join any other type of board to see if that's what you really want to do, whether or not you're going to be good at it. Because the last thing you want to do is finish one career and then try and start another. And you see this all the time with people that finish their exec career and look for board work, and they haven't really worked out that this is going to be good for them or not.
Yeah.
And that's very different to running a P&L, obviously. I think that's what you're describing. People use the word governance when they talk about boards. I'm not sure everybody's got the same definition of what that means. What surprised you about moving into board work? Like, was there something unexpected, or did it all play out the way that you thought it would?
The amount of reading, and I like reading, but I like reading novels. I don't necessarily like reading long strategic board papers and RICs. There's a huge amount of reading. And then before you get into a board meeting, just the amount of alignment that you need to do. You don't want to surprise your chairman. You don't want to surprise another board director. You certainly don't want to surprise the exec team with something unexpected. So you've got the amount of prep work that you need to put into that was far greater than ever I did for a trading meeting or an executive offsite or something like that. The amount of work that is involved and alignment is quite extraordinary. And then on top of that, you're spending a lot of time aligning the organisation to external parties. So for the Australian Menshed Association, for example, most of our sponsorship, if you like, most of the dollars and funding come from the federal government. So you're spending a huge amount of time speaking to, federal ministers and the department and just making sure they're aligned with where your direction is as well. It's about alignment and it's about fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we run into a lot of CIOs, CTOs, other execs in the industry who talk about non-executive director roles and a pathway in terms of, I've got 20, 30 years of experience. How do I continue a relationship with the industry without continuing to do exactly what I'm doing? And because you need to make room for the next generation of executive leaders. Yep. And a lot of them are thinking about that next decade. I think you described it well. The road from early 50s to 60 actually is closer than you think when you really think about it. So I think everybody's thinking about that, or there's a lot of people in the same.
Yeah, but you're only 42.
Yeah. So, are you saying I've got a bit of runway to go?
Yeah, I think you've got a lot more time than I do.
All right. So, but a lot of our listeners will be thinking about it, right? And I think they're weighing up whether or not it's the right path. Have you got any advice for them when they're considering it, like how they should consider that, whether or not it's right for them?
I would definitely go. Prue and I were talking about this before. I think any career is best when it's not a hard stop and you try and hard start a new one. Yeah, you're best off treating it like a DJ. There's one song that's sort of falling off, and there's another one picking up, and you're trying to get the beats aligned, etc. Yes. And you can do that over time. I would
There's a DJ on cue right
Yeah,
now.
wow.
Did we pick that up, Jock? Did that get picked up?
Yes, that did get picked up.
I'll
Okay,
have
good.
a double espresso, thanks. No sugar.
Yeah.
So what you really want to try and do is put a toe in the water about the type of career that you really want to do, especially when you consider that an executive career is so different to a non-executive career, especially sitting on a board. They're completely different skill sets. And the vast majority of people, I think, coming out of exec life won't like it. The things on a board that you really need to turn up with is a great degree of zero ego. You've got to be able to share your scars.
Did he just say that out loud? Zero
I
ego?
know.
Where's he going with that?
I don't know.
I don't understand this.
This was a real challenge for me, right? Being able to sit at a board meeting and not talk and just bite your lip for a little while, because actually what boards really appreciate is people with scars, people that have made mistakes, people who have put their foot in it, and what they're after is to help the executive team not make the same mistakes.
Sure.
And that's a very different mindset when you come into a room when normally in an executive team, I know the answers. I can get this right. I can fix
right.
that problem.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. I know all the, it's a very different way of thinking.
It's good advice.
I think that's really good advice. Speaking about thinking about your purpose and the next steps, we've obviously been chatting prior to the episode about the hugely disruptive nature of AI on our industry and whether or not this could lead to perhaps a crisis of purpose for a lot of professionals, and particularly through the context of the work you've been doing in the men's shed and your understanding of how men link their purpose to their careers. I think the IT industry could be up for a bit of a difficult period. We're hearing about a lot of layoffs and a lot of change to the path that people have deliberately chosen. Perhaps a new path will emerge and happen to them rather than, it might not necessarily be by choice. What's your views on that?
So you've been talking about this on your episodes quite
We have.
For some time, and you can see it coming. It's probably hit the developers first. Remember, 10 years ago, that's what you'd want to do as a career, and now they've had to adapt and change. We all know that AI is coming like a freight train for all industries. It's really interesting, some of the conversations I've been having with some of my exec colleagues over in the States. They're being set budgets for their financial years that incorporate anywhere up to like a 20% headcount saving off a subsequent investment capex in AI.
Yeah.
So this is coming. It's going to disrupt every job. Now, then roll that forward to how we feel about our purpose and our lives. You tie so much of your own sense of identity to your roles, especially men do in particular. I know I did. Like I was, Captain Telco for a long period of time, and all of a sudden you're not that. It's fascinating. I think we've all gone through that experience, and you were just talking about when you lose a job, how quickly the train just moves on.
Yeah, 100%. It's quite shocking just that it was really noticeable for me. It sounds ridiculous, 3 months, but it had an impact on me, 3 months. And if that had been a year, I feel like I would have needed help with that. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah.
And for a lot of men and a lot of people, they retire and they've retired from work, but they haven't thought through what they're retiring into. And all of a sudden they're at home. One of the greatest scourges in our society is a lack of purpose, loneliness, depression, isolation, anxiety, etc. And for a lot of men, all of a sudden they were someone yesterday, they had a title, they're now sitting at home, they don't have anything to do. They played a round of golf earlier in the week and they get depressed because we tied, it's an anathema to me, and I rail against it, that just because you finished your working career, you're of no longer use, your worth is somehow diminished. And I think we've got to do a much better job as society leaning into all of the skill sets that we've just been talking about, how we continue to utilise them. And that's where Men's Shed was born. It was actually, can you believe this? Men's Shed was created by a woman. And unsurprisingly, it was created by a woman who got Jack of her husband sitting at home complaining about he doesn't know what to do. So she hired him and his mates a shed down the road where they could get together and tinker with stuff. That's where it started. It started in Adelaide 25 odd years ago. There are now more men's sheds in Australia than there are McDonald's restaurants. Wow. There's 1,603 of them nationally. There's around about 60 odd members per shed. We touch so many different lives. And a lot of people think that a men's shed is just a wood shed. You go down there and there's a lot of woodwork that happens in a men's shed. The second most popular class in a men's shed is cooking. Because a lot of men, when they lose their partner, have never cooked a meal for themselves in their life. So what they do is they go down there, and we've just installed kitchens into most of the men's sheds around Australia, and we teach them how to cook. Here's how you cook a spaghetti bolognese. That's our second most popular class.
That's pretty cool.
It's great, right?
What a great story. What a great origin story. I mean, I can see that too. You know, I could see, a wife looking at her husband going, you need to get out of the house. You need to go and do something for the love of God.
Well, that's why you ride, isn't it, Naran?
That is why I ride, partly, yeah.
Overseas.
But I didn't feel like I was forced out of the house. It felt like a choice,
For months on end.
But look, I think, is it true to say, I mean, with that sort of staggering amount of growth for Men's Shed, and congratulations on that, that's amazing. Can I draw a line or a correlation to say that we are slowly eroding the stigma of men putting their hand up or at least accepting help at the very least? Because if I look at my crew of riding mates, I mean, they're a bunch of, and they're all watching this, hopefully you'll enjoy this, fellas, but they're all a bunch of arrogant guys, alpha type people, right? But equally, they help each other, right? So we've had a couple of guys that have lost their jobs that work for multinational IT firms, and the first thing they all did was offer to help and leaned in properly to help. And I'm wondering whether men are getting better at that. I don't know. You're probably a better judge, but are we getting better at putting our hand up, or at the very least accepting help if it's offered?
No, we're shit at it, Naran.
Then.
I
was hoping for a glimmer of light there. I gave that
to swear on this program. Like,
I set that up as nicely as I could.
No, we're terrible at it.
We're terrible at it. Okay.
Like, I'll give you an example. We don't turn up to our mates and go, gee, I'm a bit depressed. Gee, I think I've lost my purpose. Gee, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, we don't. But what men do is they tend to start talking about what's going on in their lives when they're doing something else, when we're distracted.
Right.
And we call it about men don't talk about their problems face to face. They talk about it shoulder to shoulder. So if you and I, it's a bit like if you've got a son and you really want to have a good chat to him.
Have a road trip.
Have a road trip. Get in the car and make him drive. Because all of a sudden you'll start talking, he's distracted, and all of a sudden the rest of the conversation comes through. Same is true as a men's shed. So all of a sudden you're tinkering on something, you go, I'll give you another great example of what we do in the men's shed. I love this story. It's called Spanner in the Works. So we partnered with a couple of universities. Remember that terrible show, I think it was called Embarrassing Bodies, over in the UK?
Yes.
And you'd wander in the back of this truck and you go in with whatever skin affliction that you have.
I remember that show. Yeah, that was horrendous, that show.
You sit here, you look at that and go, oh, wow, I wouldn't be showing that on national television. Anyway, we've partnered with a couple
Feels
of...
like the best way. Put a camera on it.
I can assure you'd want to get it fixed after that. Anyway, so we've partnered with some universities in their last year med students, and we give them a truck that's decked out like a medical studio. And so we drive out the front of a men's shed, and they wander in. Now, what the medical students are after, of course, is some experience and dealing with probably the type of people they're going to deal with in a hospital in the years to come anyway.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, we've got this medical truck out there. So we know some of you haven't had a checkup in years. Why don't you just come out the front and do this? And so they get the experience in doing that with the men. And the men will stay there, and they usually don't come out for about an hour.
Yeah.
They're tinkering around with stuff, and then one of them will go, hey, I've had this sort of sore on my, this spot on my... And then they come out, but they will always come out in pairs. Yeah? I'll tell you what, I'll go and get my blood pressure checked if you do, Jono.
Yeah.
And out they come. And all of a sudden there's this wonder... Now, last year we saved 3 men who were literally having heart attacks as they were having their blood pressure taken.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, phone down, ring 000, you're going straight to hospital.
Wow.
So, like, men are stubborn. Like, we'll ignore the problem until we're dead. So, men's shed gives you sort of this space to be able to have those conversations. And no, we're not great at it.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
Okay, well, good to know. I mean, maybe I'm hanging out with a group of empathetic men. Maybe they're a rarity. I don't know. They don't feel like it. They still seem like a bunch of jerks to me. But
well, I think if you look at you could call that a meteoric rise from humble beginnings with one shed, and now there's over 1,600 sheds
in
20 years
19
later.
different countries as well. So it started here in Australia. It's in Japan. It's in America, Canada, Ireland, all over the place.
I didn't know that either. I thought it was just an Australian thing.
No, so it's an international movement now. It started here in Australia and incredibly successful.
Amazing.
Mind you, a bit like this podcast, apparently.
And mate, I think like, how does this correlate to, if you play it forward, AI disrupting a purpose for a lot of men, but everybody, men and women. If you can think about the work that MenShed's doing around purpose, what can we take from that we can translate, perhaps some tips for our audience dealing with uncertainty? Like, what have you learned in that work with MenShed that can help people through, I guess, this process, dealing with uncertainty?
And I am still working in tech, you've got to have more than one iron in the fire now. You know, that thing that you might have relied on in the past that always kept you in a job, that might not be there tomorrow. It's really hard to predict where AI is going to have its impact, but it will. And if you can only do one thing and that one thing gets disrupted by AI, you're in trouble. So you need to go back and really think about your purpose, start trialing different things, learning new things. I mean, these are all the obvious things that you should be doing.
Yeah.
But you've really got to lean in and start that process now, because it's very difficult to start something brand new from a cold start.
It feels very binary to me, and you've probably read some of the same articles in the news as well. And this is there's resistance, right? So you're either in a role. Well, the first decision is my role impacted by AI, yes or no? And it probably is, right? Assume that it is. Then your next decision is, do I embrace that and really lean into it, or do I resist it? And there's a resistance movement going on at the moment, where particularly in organisations that are thrusting the change upon them, right? So organisations that are saying you've got to use Copilot or Claude or whatever it is, it's now part of your job. And when it's forced on you, particularly if you've done your job a certain way, and let's face it, there's different mindsets out there. I mean, some people are comfortable with adapting change and leaning into tech, and others less so. Tough decision, isn't it? I mean, I think for those that have decided to reject it, you're probably talking an entirely different career, aren't you? Really? Because I don't feel like you can ignore it. I feel like it's one or the other. You've got to lean into it and embrace it, and it becomes an augmentation and an enhancement of your job and skills that makes you deliver more output, more capability, and hopefully your business can either monetize that output or do something meaningful with it, versus you have to change jobs.
I think for a long period of time, especially in tech, we've gone 1 inch wide and 4 miles deep. I think those days are gone. We were talking before about having to expand your skills across multiple disciplines now, so you do have more than one iron in the fire. I think entrepreneurial skills are going to come to the fore. Coming up with business ideas about how to utilise and avail yourself of the opportunities that AI are going to present to the industry, and embrace them if you think you can give that a go. I'd like to see, especially in Australia, a lot more people in the tech industry starting their own businesses, starting their own initiatives, looking for their own capital, starting up their own. Have a look at. We just don't have enough of that in this country. And I think over time what has happened is that we've become ultra specialised, and that's left us exposed now to this crisis of purpose that AI is going to present to us.
That's a really interesting point that you make, and it is very topical in our industry at the moment. If you look at the proposed new federal budget and the way that they're treating capital gains tax discounts, and there's a lot of talk in our industry. I mean, we had Jason Serta from Utility, the VC fund, on I think last episode or a couple of episodes ago, talking about the venture situation in tech in Australia. There is still a lot of innovation in Australia that's heading overseas for capital. Do you think potentially it's difficult in the Australian industry to do that? I think we'd all like to see more innovation and entrepreneurship in tech.
It is extremely difficult. I know the federal government still haven't passed their previous tax budget, and it's up for renewal. And there is conversations about can tech in particular be protected from that. So if you're a tech professional today, I would envisage that will be a carve out from some of these.
It does seem like it's heading that way.
It has to be. It has to be. So if I was a tech exec today and I was looking to lean into some type of entrepreneurial venture, I think we're going to be protected by that. And that's just my gut feel, because too many dollars are going to fly off to New Zealand and other places where there's not a capital gains tax and start up your business there. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
for sure.
It's interesting to think about. So, I mean, we got here by just talking about AI and people's purpose changing. And I think your antidote to that is, if I play it back to you, to perhaps be proactive and take as much control over the opportunity as you can, learn a new skill, think about what a great time this is to innovate or start a business or solve a new problem, even entrepreneurship, doing that within your own organization and broadening your horizons within a larger company. I think that's quite a practical way to look at it, because the other way to look at it is you let stuff happen to you. And then you get surprises and this crisis of purpose.
It's probably quite daunting too. I mean, I agree with you. And I think, you and I both see the world in the same way, and that we embrace things and get after it and, take chances. And Luke, I suspect you've probably done the same thing yourself. But, if you're at home with a family with struggling cost of living, et cetera, these are daunting decisions.
Yeah.
We make it sound easy to make these decisions, but I think it's hard for some people, right, to know that they've got really material decisions coming up that could impact their lives if they are quite literally, I won't say living hand to mouth, but ever conscious of the costs and their responsibilities to pay the bills. I mean, it's one thing to have the luxury of, time or money to make a decision and to pivot and do things, but, maybe it's harder for some people. And this probably comes up as conversations, I'm sure, right?
All the time.
All the time.
And I think there's all sorts of different people in the world. There are definitely those people that approach the table going, life happens to you. And there's those group of people saying, no, I make life happen for me.
Yeah.
You'll want to be in that latter category. So that's just a general way of approaching careers and life in general. Then it's always easier when you're employed to begin looking at what those opportunities are now. Yeah. You don't want to start doing that when it's happened already to you.
That's right.
So I would encourage everyone who's watching, start to have a think about the other things that you might like to do to complement your income over time, because it will in some way get disrupted. And then if you're approaching retirement, you're still going to have the same type of conversation with yourself. What am I going to do? Look, I love that. And it's on an original quote. I think Jordan Peterson said it, but I really love it. And go, okay, what do you want to do with your life? I want to retire. Okay, when are you going to retire? 60. Well, what are you going to do at 60? Oh, I want to sit on a beach. Great. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock in the morning. You're sitting on the beach. You're retired. What are you doing then? I'm having a drink. Great. You're having a Mai Tai. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, well, then what are you doing? Oh, it's 9:30. I'll have another one. Right, good. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning. You're sitting on the beach. You're retired. You're 60. You've had 2 Mai Tais and you're drunk. Now what are you doing with the rest of your life? You've still got 30 years to go.
Probably having a sleep on the beach.
Well, you would be.
Well,
yeah. But I just think you need to think through, the purpose of your life isn't sitting on a beach. It took me a long time to find it, but my purpose was to help other people find their purpose. And I found that through Menshed. I think everyone still needs to be able to swing their legs out of bed in the morning going, why are you getting out of bed today? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yes.
Everyone needs to be able to answer that question.
Yes.
And I think there's this crisis of purpose that's coming down the pipeline that unless we start having this conversation, getting more people talking about it, then we're going to have a real problem in the years to come.
It's the right time to be having these conversations for sure, the amount of disruption.
Get it out there. Get people talking.
Yes.
That's right.
Get people talking. And it's important to talk about the uncomfortable stuff.
You should start a podcast.
I know,
and
right?
start talking about these things.
Well,
that's what you should do.
I feel like we're helping, right? I feel like we're helping because we're going to get into our next section now, which is the confessions of the IT professional. And let's face it, you've got to get things off your chest that were impactful, particularly if it was your fault and something went horribly wrong and you had an epic fail. And we've had a ton of these stories come in. This is us, Luke. This is how we're helping, right? We're getting these things off people's chests. If they confess them, even though it's anonymous, we're helping.
That's right.
Talking about it helps.
That's right.
All right. So I'm
Does
going
it
to read
make the
one
problem
out.
smaller? Is that?
Well, look. I mean, I think if we can have fun with it, that's got to help, hasn't it?
I think there's a statute of limitations on IT fails. I feel like it's, what do you reckon it is, 10 years? You can talk about it?
I think so. That's right.
Have you done yours?
I have done one, yes.
Oh, did you? I missed that episode.
Well, you'll have to go back and watch
I will.
it.
I'll go and find it.
I did talk about it.
Yes, yeah.
When I was at News.
We've all got them. Yeah. And actually a bunch have come in. It's pretty funny. We thought we might read, it was actually a hard choice. Mm-hmm. They're all pretty good. So we're going to read one of what we think is the better ones on the episode today. But I'm going to spring this one on you, Luke. We're going to need yours too.
All right. Okay, so we're going to read this one out. Now, I'm hoping that we've got a nice little animation that goes along with this as well. And so the idea is that we will announce the let's say, the handle of the person. It's not their real name. So this story's come in from Johnny Wishbone, not his or her real name. Okay, here's the story. I used to work for a very large IP VPN provider that managed all the network traffic of air traffic controllers globally.
That sounds important.
It does sound important. One day, we were deploying a change on a network in Washington, D.C. We were adding an additional routing capability to all the PE routers. To the tech boffins out there, you know what that means. The change had been meticulously planned and scheduled 3 months in advance.
Probably because it was very important.
I'd say so, in Washington, D.C., no less. So we kicked off the change, and about halfway through, an executive got on the conference call and told us to roll back everything immediately. And about 5 seconds before that, I had just pasted in a massive amount of config. And so for those of us who've done change before, it's quite often a copy and paste situation of meticulous lines of code and config. So the executive is telling him to roll it back. And meanwhile, the bulk of the change is still being configured. This exec was super aggressive and belligerent. And in my panic, I spilt Coke all over the keyboard, and then my laptop decided to die on me. All right. So I grabbed my colleague's laptop and I had to manually reverse the change line by line because my prep text file was on my laptop, which was now dead from the Coke all over it. It took about 10 minutes to reverse everything and abort the change. We found out later that the President of the United States had to change his plans. He was supposed to fly to New York, opted for Washington instead, and I kept him in the air for 10 minutes. Wow.
It's fantastic. It could have
Epic.
changed the course of history.
I think so. Yeah.
It's a great story. Really
I'm just imagining some poor network engineer in a total panic with a completely destroyed laptop.
Some frantic executive screaming down the phone, because that helps problems.
Yeah,
When you're already
So
stressed.
we talk about this, like how often you think people know what they're doing. you think people know what they're doing,
They don't.
and it all comes down to like a person in a room with a laptop.
Yep.
Like
That's it.
It's unbelievable.
I think most people don't really want to know how these things happen, you know? Yeah. Anyway, so Luke, I mean, that was a confession from our friend Johnny Wishbone, not his real name. You must have had some stories over the last 10 years.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's probably not too many I could really let go, but maybe I'll just tell the personal one. It was a good one. I was very early in my career, and I was going to, remember back in the days where before COVID, you would go out on a Friday night, you'd stay out quite late, and you'd have a wonderful time. You get home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. You'd take your suit off because we wore suits back then. And then, you'd climb into bed and you wouldn't really worry about your suit until the Monday morning. You get back into your suit. Well, I did this. I was going back to work and I was going up the elevator. When your pockets crumpled, like you're shaking your leg out.
You got to line them up.
You got to line out.
Yeah.
I shook my leg a little bit. Out the bottom of my trousers and a very full lift of girls from the marketing floor to 2 floors below in the lift. My underpants fell out from the Friday. So
I've got visions of leopard leopard print G-string or something like that.
I can't recall,
No,
but
okay, right.
Everyone looked at them. I looked at them.
Right.
Everyone, who's going to move first? I moved first. Now, the reason I tell that story is that one of the women in the lift happened to be Libby Christie, who ended up being my boss about a year later, and she regaled that story back to me when I worked for her. Yeah, sorry.
I've got a couple of questions, Jono.
I don't even know where to start. You go first.
Well, why were they in your pocket?
Well, because I took all my clothes off on Friday night,
Okay.
and my undies were still in there. From I can't believe I'm telling this.
Yeah.
And there goes the rest of my board career.
I think that one's going to take the cake. You've set I don't know if it's a low bar or a high bar for guest confessions, but we'll take it.
I went personal.
We'll take it. It's okay. It's okay. It's a safe space and entertaining, if nothing else. We've got some questions for you. Not confessions. Hopefully something a bit more constructive for our audience. What's one piece of advice you'd give your past self before taking on a major tech initiative or challenge?
I've learnt this through trial and error as well. And I'm really passionate about this now, and it's the advice that I give back to any organisation when they're about to lean into a big tech change. You've got to dedicate people to it. You can't have people do their day job and also go and do a big tech change. It just doesn't work. So
Right.
if when you launched Azure, when we launched SD-WAN, like you've got to have a dedicated group of people that swing their legs out of bed every day, balanced on the success of just that one project.
Yeah.
You cannot have people then running back to their day job. So it's the question I ask all the time: who's dedicated to this? Where's the dedicated funding? What is the dedicated dashboard? What are the measures of success of just this one thing?
Yep.
And just have a group of people tied to the success of that program.
Yeah, that makes sense. Focus, accountability, all of that. You're just giving it the best possible chance.
It doesn't work almost every other time. You're going to have a failure.
It is so tempting to get people to wear other hats, isn't it?
Well, you're a talented guy, Jono. You can do this job and that one
It's
too.
so tempting.
Doesn't
It
happen.
feels really good. The budget looks great.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Never works.
Great advice.
All right. Question number 2, Luke. What's something that you used to believe in tech leadership that you no longer do?
This one's going to be contentious. Results.
Right.
I rail now at people that just look at the results. And now I'm always going to, are the people that are doing the job that produces the results enjoying the job? Are they watching the ball every day? So you don't go onto a cricket field and manage the game by looking at the scoreboard. You look at every ball that's being bowled at you. And if you have a look at AFL, you can tell the teams that are going to win at the end of the season. They're the ones that look like they're enjoying themselves on the field.
Right.
So spend more time concentrating. Are we doing the basics right? Are we enjoying the game that we're here to do?
Yes.
The results will come as a result.
I feel like there's some Clifton strengths that go along with it. Excuse the pun.
100%.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually bloody love that. I think that's excellent. People have to enjoy what they do. And when you're doing a good job at what you're doing, the results should be a natural outcome.
Well, Naran, actually both of you enjoy selling.
I do.
Like there's nothing better than going to see a customer and talking about technology and you love it.
I do.
As a result, the results come.
Yeah.
You're not focused on, I've got to get this thing closed because that just causes anxiety and stress and pressure.
No.
And if you enjoy the job, the results will
Enjoy
come.
your craft for sure.
Yeah, so for the tech leaders listening, make it about the job, let the results come. Yeah, create that environment for your team, right?
We've all had those people in the office, right? You can see them. It could be sales or engineering or project manager, whatever. You can tell they're not enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And as a result, the results aren't there.
Yeah.
If
That's right.
Yeah, you just got to get that right. And so that's my learning. I really worry about the people who just always look at results only.
Yeah. Fair.
Luke, you've had a pretty strong hand in selecting some great tech partners in your time at Macquarie, and it's led to some really successful initiatives. What's your gut check for spotting a good partner or perhaps walking away from a bad one?
Great question. Easy. Would I work for you? Like would not my organisation? Would Luke Clifton want to come and work for you, Jono, if you were my partner?
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to get out of bed because I want to make you successful. And if I've got that same sense that you feel that way about me, it's going to be a great success. It's almost like the pub test, but it's a little bit more intimate.
Yes.
Would I personally come and work for you, Naran?
Yes.
Because I reckon that'll work. And we've all been there and you've looked at a tech partner and gone, there is no way I would work in your organisation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key words there were gut check. I mean, it's similar to, when you're hiring a BDM, perhaps. And I always ask the question, would I buy from you? It's a similar sort of thing. You get a sense of, would I want to do that with you? And it's the same thing with, would you want to go into business partnership with somebody? How does it feel? If it feels good, I mean, you've got something to work from, haven't you?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, your first instinct usually being the right one.
Well, it's also true in people management. So I've got my favourite interview questions, but my final one, if I'm interviewing for a people manager, and I don't ask it of the individual, I ask it of myself at the end of the interview, and I've gone back to my desk. I go, would I personally want to work for that person?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then going, okay, great.
Yeah, that's it.
It's that same sort of gut feel.
Yeah, that's really good.
Look, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Things Reasons. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Joy to be here.
Thank you very much. We talked about it for a long time, and look, the men's shed is amazing, and
Thank you.
so it's a great purpose. And I think you've really locked onto something there. and it's growing exponentially and helping an inordinate amount of people. So well done, amazing.
Thank you. And for anyone who's out there that wants to go and find out about a men's shed, they're not just wood sheds. We do a lot of IT in them as well. Please just pop on down. And you don't need to be 60. You don't need to be 50. We take people at all ages. Come down. We'd like your skills, and the skills of the men's shed get shared. So
That's it. Let's put the logo up there.
Thank you. Here. There? No,
Yeah,
there we go.
Post-production magic.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It just moved around a lot.
All right. Fantastic episode today. I think our audience will get a lot out of that. Luke, thank you for coming on and being a bit vulnerable, perhaps oversharing. We enjoyed it.
Yep.
Underpants.
Appreciate it.
That's great. Naran, where do people find us?
Well, okay, so you will find us anywhere you get your podcast. That could be YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We are everywhere. Look for things.reasons. We are, of course, produced by Prue Loon and Karina Aguilera. And if you want to reach us, we have a wonderful website, thingsreasons.show, but you can also email Prue at thingsreasons.show. We have our confessions page as well. That's on the website. Please keep sending the stories in.
Yeah, keep them coming. We're having some fun with that.
We are indeed. And thank you again for watching.
Thanks again, everybody. See you next time.